Welcome to the Exodus Migration Tools Installation Guide. You can find all this information in the README and the documentation. First, you need to check if your database is set for extended data types. If your database is not set for extended data types, you will not be able to install the Exodus Migration Tools. And now we need to check the config file. Pay particular attention to the tablespace names, the connection strings, and usernames and passwords. The tablespaces will need to be created before you start the installation. And now execute the installation with .deploymaster.sh. The installation will only take a few moments. And now we need to create our source and target schemas. Our source schema is also called a staging schema, and we've based the dataset in there on the Scott Tiger dataset, which we've augmented to include columns of migration batch ID and migration status. So let's create the user. Okay, so that table space should be TS staged, or whatever you've named yours to. And now let's create the target schema. Let's not make the same mistake twice. And that should be TS target. And finally the temp table space assignment. And now we need to populate the staging schema with its objects and also its initial data set. Notice the migration batch ID and migration status columns. And now we need to log on to our target schema and create its objects. And now we need to run a script to configure Exodus. This will insert map rules groups, migration groups, some run contexts, and some substitution values. It also installs some parameters so that Exodus is aware of the staging schema tables and the target schema tables. If you've installed the form and installed the form server, you can start the application. There's an employee document by example which can be cut and pasted into the tool. Use the Manage JSON button and paste in your document by example. Rename it appropriately and be sure to select Stored Document. And load and install. Now a JSON document doesn't exist on its own, it needs to live inside a table, so we need to add a table document. Table documents are rendered as JSON, but you use the Add Table button in the Manage JSON. Choose the target table. and install that JSON. And note the schema name ought to be a substitution variable, more on those later. You should now have two documents installed, one target JSON document and one target table document.